Hello.
What's up? What's up? I'm Ashleigh.
And I'm Toniah.
And you're listening to... All right. The podcast that says it's okay to do a TikTok dance at your wedding reception.
Hey.
I just love when we get to talk to brides that are like fun folks. I'm just saying, our guest this week was so much fun to talk to. I hate that you missed it, but you know, you had to get the vaccine.
Yeah, she's talking about me, y'all. I got my second vaccine, and there was a little line, not a little, but
it was a long line.
It was a long line, and
she was in line as long as our episode recording. You text me before we started recording, and you basically text me when we were wrapping to say that you were done. Yeah. And I was like, yeah, we just finished the recording.
It was a long day, but anyways.
But yeah, so we talked to such a fun bride that had to postpone her wedding. And you could tell that just by the pictures, I mean, chances are you saw her video, her doing the June bug with her bridesmaids, all throughout her wedding day. I'm sure you saw that on your feed if you follow bridal Instagram. It probably ended up on bridal Twitter, I'm sure, or at least Black Twitter. But yeah, the guest today was so much fun. I love guests with good energy. And I mean, I feel like her wedding reception embodied what everyone wants their wedding to be like and to feel like, which is a party. Everybody is really there for the reception. If anybody tells you they're there for the ceremony, they are lying or they are boring. It is always about the reception. Everybody's trying to turn up. They want good music, good food, and good drinks. Even if you don't drink. I don't drink like that anymore because I can't. But my husband does. And even if you and yours don't drink, you got friends that drink. And so you want everybody to be feeling good, having good moments to swag surf and wobble.
And now the June bug.
And now June bug.
Yeah, exactly.
All the dances. You want everybody to have a good time. And then you want at some point your grandma to go home so that you could play the unedited versions of stuff. Unless the grandma just don't care. And if so, you're lucky.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway, y'all are going to enjoy the episode. And so let's just roll that beautiful beam footage. So, as you all know, we have a shop. Yeah, we've actually had a shop a lot longer than some of your favorite other shops. But look, you can shop there too. But right now, we want you to shop with Hue I Do. Go to shop.hueido.com and find stickers, mugs, sweatshirts, tees, and so much more for you, your bridal party, and your favorite wedding vendors. So, thank us later, but enjoy it now. We have a very wonderful guest with us today. I'm pretty sure if you follow bridal Instagram, Black bridal Instagram, you've seen her wedding all across your timeline, or your feed rather, goodness. But guess, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, so my name is Amina Smith, newly married, Mrs. Bush now. Yay. Yes. But yeah, so just a little bit about me. I'm a sports reporter, entertainment reporter. I work for Stadium Sports Network and also BET Networks. And I'm actually in the process of moving. I'm actually getting another job. So, I guess we'll update it on the back end, but
yeah.
But yeah, so I work in sports and entertainment. And yeah, I'm excited to have this conversation about the wedding. It's been a long journey. I'll say that.
Nice. Yeah, everybody I think that's been engaged at any point last year is just to get to that day is whew, okay.
Yeah, that's exactly how it felt. It was just okay, I can breathe now.
Right. Because it's part of your life feels like it's just in limbo. You're just waiting for all the stuff you've been planning, all the stuff you've been preparing for to finally come to fruition so you can like enjoy that day and then also be past that day.
Yes, yeah. It's a long wait. I'm not gonna lie. Like I was stressed out. Literally, I decided not to be stressed out like the actual day of my wedding. Like I had to like intentionally tell myself, okay, like at this point you can't, like, what are you gonna do? You know, just be in the moment, have fun, enjoy it, let it unfold how it's gonna unfold. So that's pretty much, that was my approach on my wedding day. I was like, just let it flow.
And that makes like, oh gosh. Yeah, we'll get into all of that. But I'm glad you did that. I mean, we all saw like you probably had like the wedding of 2021. Like you set the stage pretty early. There's like still like 9 months left to the year, but it's like, you know, it's over. Like this is it. We're gonna like October and November, we're still gonna be like looking at photos from past this year. We're still gonna be like looking at your wedding as like
love it. I love it.
like that staple wedding. Like people are gonna be showing their wedding planners like photos from your wedding. It's like, this is my inspo. This is what I'm trying to do.
I love it.
So before we get into all of that, tell us a little bit about like your husband, how'd y'all meet, like a little bit about your beginnings.
Yeah, so both me and my husband, we attended the University of Miami down here in Florida, and he played football. I used to run track. I was previously at the University of South Carolina. I ran track there, and then I ended up transferring to Miami. And so by the time I transferred, I was a junior. So I was like deep into my major. Like I was like working like side jobs. I was like working on campus trying to get like, you know, internships and media and things like that. And we actually became friends via social media. So he like, you know, wrote me in my comments and he's like, yeah, I see you around campus. And I'm just like, who is this? Who is this in my comments? Like, and so, you know, we ended up like, you know, developing a relationship offline. Like we were friends for a while. And then after that, like we started hanging out like a lot more. And I remember it's like my senior year, like, you know, fall semester, like we were literally like inseparable. So like we would spend like, like we would literally spend like all day, every day, like with each other. Like we go to class, and then in between classes, we were with each other, and then go to class. And sometimes he would not go to class and still spend time with me. So that's pretty much like, you know, where we began. And then from there, you know, it just kind of took off. Like I always tell people like, it wasn't like, you know, I was looking for a relationship or we were looking to be in a relationship, but our friendship just kind of evolved and blossomed over time. And then, you know, it kind of felt like, oh, like I really want to be with this person like all the time. Like we just felt like it was so natural. Like we didn't have to force anything. And we always had fun. So, you know, that's pretty much where it started.
Oh, that's so sweet. So y'all are college sweethearts.
We are.
I love that. I love that. And the fact that like both of y'all have had great careers since then. Y'all are like power couple status. Like, I love it. I love it. I'm telling you, like, y'all are legit going to be like everybody's inspiration. Like, yes. So how long were y'all together when, by the time he proposed?
By the time he proposed, it was July of 2018. So we were in Costa Rica with like a group of our friends. Gosh, we were together about 4 or 5 years at that point. And I remember we went to Costa Rica. We usually like go on a trip, like, you know, every summer. I like to travel. I like to go out of the country. And so we were like, okay, well, let's go to Costa Rica. It was it was very weird because it was like on a whim. Like, it was just like, we were like, oh yeah, in 2 weeks we're going to go to like, you know, Costa Rica. I'm like, what? Like, that's not how I plan trips. Like, this is not like, I need an itinerary. I need details. I need like, you know, excursions. Like, are we going anywhere? Like, like that's the type of person I am. And he's more like, yeah, let's just go with the flow. Like, let's just buy the ticket. So in any case, we get to Costa Rica and he ends up proposing like the second or third night that we were there. Like, I honestly, like I had no idea. Like I just like not at all. I was like, I knew it was coming at some point, but I just did not think it was going to come that quickly. Like I was very caught off guard. And I remember we were standing outside, like we had rented like this big Airbnb because it was about like 3 or 4 couples. And we were standing outside by the pool and it was beautiful because you could see like the mountains like in Costa Rica. Like it was a very beautiful view. And then all of a sudden he starts making a speech. Now, I know people don't know my husband, but he does not make speeches. Okay. So, and I'm just like, you know, we're all like, you know, we have our drinks. I'm just like, what is going on? I was like, he's making a speech right now. I was like, this is very weird. And my back is turned to him. And then all of a sudden, like, he's like, yeah, everybody is like going to cheers. And like, I notice he's behind me, but I'm like, I turn around and then he's on one knee. And I'm like, what is going on right now? I was like, what is happening? So, you know, that's the proposal story in a nutshell, pretty much the expedited version, you know, the skinny on it. But it was so beautiful. Like, I think the most beautiful thing about it is that it was so unexpected. Like, it was expected, but not expected in that moment. You know, it's so weird because it's like you can feel kind of sort of when it's coming. And then it's just like, okay, but I don't know when it's coming, but I feel like that's the track that we're on. So I knew we were on that track, just didn't know it was going to happen that night. So, you know, there you go.
Did your friends on the trip know that it was going to happen, or was everybody surprised?
It was so crazy. No, like people knew. So I was like, oh my God. So the thing was that like he was actually going to propose the night before. And so this came out like after. And so one of our friends, he had her like hold the ring. And I guess like she was going to give it to him like at the restaurant or whatever. Because usually like I hold his stuff because he loses everything. So, you know, she has the ring and we're trying to find a restaurant. And of course, we're in Costa Rica. We have no idea. We're going with the flow. We're on vibes, y'all. We're on straight vibes in Costa Rica. So we're trying to find a restaurant. Doesn't work out. And then, like, you know, I guess the restart is like the night after. Like, he's just like, all right, well, forget it. We'll just do it the next day. And so I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Like, is that how it went down? It's just like he had me look for a restaurant. Like, I lived in Costa Rica at some point in my life and I did not. I was like, this is totally like a Dion thing. Like, I mean, I wouldn't expect it to be any other way. So yeah, we definitely had people on the trip that knew. And then once I watched the video back, I'm like, oh my God, like everyone was in on this. Okay, so you guys keep really good secrets. So now I know.
Well, that's good though. I love that. Like you were saying, you should feel like it's coming, but you don't really want to know. Like, you don't want to wake up and be like, okay, tomorrow is the day. Like, that ruins the surprise.
It does. Like, I literally, and you know what's crazy is that, so we got engaged in Costa Rica, and then literally like the day that we got back, we flew back into Miami. I had to fly out and go to Paris because I was covering a red carpet. And so I land in Fort Lauderdale. I have to drive down to Miami, which is a whole nother ordeal. And I get on the plane. I'm getting ready, like, to go to Paris for work. And I'm like sitting on the plane. I start crying. Like, it was like the most, it was the weirdest thing ever. Like, it was like I literally had like a delayed reaction to him proposing in the engagement. Like, I was sitting on the plane and people were looking at me like, is she okay? Like, this woman is crying by herself by the window. And I'm just like, I'm okay. I just got engaged. It's totally fine. I tell that story all the time because I thought it was just so weird. Like, I was literally, and it's like a 7-hour flight. So, you know, I have a lot of time to like, you know, think. Like,
right, exactly.
I'm like, oh yeah, like I done ran out of movies to watch and everything. So I'm like, oh my God, like I'm really like engaged. I'm like, this really happened. Like, what is my life about right now? oh my God. I'm like, it was crazy. I was like bawling on the plane. So it hit me like after the fact. I was like definitely excited in the moment, like the actual moment.
Right.
And then even waking up the morning after, like we were like laying in bed and I was like, oh my God, like I could not believe it. I could like, you could believe it, but like, it's just like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe that this is happening. So I was very excited. Very.
Oh, I love that. Okay. So before we get into knowing more about kind of like your love story and of course, everything that led up to the wedding, we're going to play a quick game of this or that. So you're going to pick between this option or the other and tell us why. So to start out, would you prefer at the reception for a choreographed dance with all the bridesmaids, or a choreographed dance with you and your husband?
Ooh, I feel like the bridesmaids. You know what's crazy is my bridesmaids did try to do something like that. They literally, one of my bridesmaids is a dance teacher. She tried to get everybody in formation. Okay. My bridesmaid, Jamara, she is like choreographed, extraordinaire. Okay. She's trying to get everybody together for this dance. I want no parts. I don't really have that much rhythm. But if I had to choose one, I choose the bridesmaids.
Gotcha. Okay. What about, so having the wedding at a museum or having the wedding in a ballroom?
Ooh, I'm going ballroom. Okay, I'm extra. Give me the ballroom, honey. Why do I want to be with like dusty dinosaurs and all that other stuff? No.
Not the dusty dinosaurs.
I don't need that. Give me the ballroom, honey. Okay. Everybody that knows me knows I'm a little bit extra. Let's go ahead to the ballroom.
You are trying to have all the dramatics, like all the theatrics, all of it. Okay. All right. Last round. So having the food being catered from like your favorite restaurant or just like a catering company, like a good catering company though, but.
Yeah, I would go. Oh, this is kind of tough. Okay. This is tough because the way that I thought about catering is like, I'm like, what will my guests really like? And so sometimes like my taste is a little bit different. I'll go with the good catering company as opposed to my favorite restaurant, just because like sometimes I have some real funky taste. I'm not gonna lie. So, like other people, I'm a little bit more adventurous with my food, and I know that people are just like, just give me something that's good. So give me the good caterer.
Okay. I like that. And that makes sense because, sometimes you have like family members and stuff that's like, I'm not going to eat that. Like, just give me a good chicken plate.
Exactly.
Chicken plate and my two sides, I'm good. So, okay. I am 100% with you on that one. So we are going to get into your love story. I mean, we got a little bit of it already, but we're going to get into that, like the wedding day, how it finally came around. I mean, you were basically another, a COVID bride that like had to deal and kind of work around like all the mess of 2020. So I'm glad you were finally able to have your like gorgeous wedding day. But to kind of like start off, kind of going back to your husband and like when y'all were dating and all that, like good and warm and fuzzy. How did you and when did you know that he was the one?
I would say I knew probably maybe 2 years into our relationship. So like, it's very weird because he's younger than me. So I ended up graduating about 1.5 years, 2 years before he did. And so I left Miami. I went and got an internship in New York. That's where I'm originally from. And then I got my first job in Kansas, like on air, like Lawrence, Kansas. Yeah. Like middle of nowhere. Yeah. It is what it is. So I ended up moving to Kansas in 2014. And I remember us having a conversation. I was like, oh my gosh, like we're going to be like in a long distance relationship. And of course, like you think about it, and just being real, it's like, you think about, somebody being in college and then they also play sports, like he's a football player. And then of course, like there's a lot of stereotypes with that. But of course, I knew him as a person. And so like our thing was just like, we want to make sure that we make each other feel as comfortable as possible so that like there is no room for doubt between us. And for me on my end, like I thought that was very special because one, you don't see a lot of guys, who are 20, 21, talking like that. Like that's just not something that happens very often.
Right.
And so like for me, that was like, oh, like, okay, like, he showed me that he was committed to like me and our relationship, making me feel as comfortable as possible. And so, for me, I was like, okay, well, if he's making the effort, then that makes me feel more comfortable. I'm going to put the effort in. I'm going to go a whole 100. He's going a whole 100. And we did like our relationship long distance for about 2 years. And so I think that was a significant part in our relationship because it built a lot of trust. It built a lot of strength in our relationship. And also, it's cliche, but sometimes distance and being far apart does make the heart grow fonder. It does make you appreciate that person even more. Like literally, like I would be looking forward to the next time I would get to see him. And sometimes it would be like, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, like he was still in school and I was working my first full-time job. So, I think that was a very like pivotal experience for us and for me, where I got to see like, you know, just how dedicated he was to our relationship. So I always kind of look back and point to that, to something that, you know, where I really got to see like, oh, like this might be somebody that I'm likely going to spend, you know, the rest of my life with.
Oh, yeah, that's rare. I mean, that early, but when you know, and you're not going to play games because it's like, you don't want to lose the good thing that's in front of you. So I'm glad that, you know, he stayed the path. And yeah, nice. Okay. So after he proposed, like how soon did y'all start wedding planning? Because you said y'all got engaged 2018, right?
2018. Yeah. And so like at the time I was like, you know, it's different because so my husband plays in the NFL and I work covering sports. And so our schedules it's a little crazy, right? Like, so we're planning around, you know, the NFL calendar. So like you're planning around the season, you know, and then you're also planning around, you know, free agency, you're planning around, you know, OTAs and workouts. And there's literally like a window, like a tiny window. There's a tiny window where everyone gets married. And so we were like, okay, well, let's do a year and a half out. Originally, the date was June 20th, 2020. And I was like, cool, that'll give me enough time to digest what's happening right now. You know, find people to delegate, you know, responsibilities to, find a planner, you know, go through vendors, make sure that I get the perfect Pinterest board together. Like, I was like, I have more than enough time. And then, of course, you know, COVID hits in March of 2020, and then everything shuts down, and we're just like, okay, now what the hell do we do now? Like, I done did all this planning. We done put all these deposits down, child.
Hello? And you don't get it back. So.
But you do not get that. I tell people all the time, I'm like, I'm in the wrong industry. Okay, like, sign me up. I want to sell something. You know, I need to like, you know, wedding plan. I need to make some flowers. Get me on Etsy or something because, I mean, it's not like, you know, you could be like, oh, I owe you. I'll pay you later. No, they want cash now.
Right.
They don't want cash later. They want cash now.
Right. And they don't care about COVID. I mean, you know, to an extent, like
just a little bit, not that much. Just
right. It's like my bills still get paid too. So.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, that's pretty much like where our journey started in terms of planning. Like we initially thought we would have like a year and a half to kind of, you know, get everything done, you know, some breathing room. Cause usually people, you know, they know. I had friends who knew exactly what they wanted. Like I knew someone that planned their wedding in 7 months. And I was like, what? I was like, I don't even know where to start. I'm like, let me look on Pinterest.
Right.
So, you know, it ended up giving us way more time than we probably would have liked. But, you know, everything happens for a reason. And it, again, turned out above and beyond the expectations that we had. So I'm happy with it.
Nice. What was like that moment that was like, all right, so it's not going to happen this year? Because, you know, there was like a good point last year, around this time last year, where folks were like, okay, this will probably be over in a few weeks, or this will be over in a month. So it's like, don't make any decisions. So like, what was it for y'all that was like, okay, nah, we have to push this.
Yeah, it was like, I want to say once we got around to about May, like probably like April, I'll say April, because March pretty much, so it's that I work in sports, and around like March 13th, like the NBA shut down, and I was like, oh my God, okay, this is getting like super, super serious. I was like, okay, my job is telling me not to come in, you know, we need to quarantine, you know, we can't like come outside and everything like that. So once we started working from home, we ended up coming back down to Florida. And so I'm like, okay, well, what's going to happen with the wedding? So then April rolls around, and of course you kind of think, all right, well, maybe things by the summer will loosen up, because everything was changing like day by day. Like there was like, you know, a new story came out every day, and, you know, people thought at one point it was going to open back up in like May, and then like June, and everything will be okay. And then May rolled around, and we were still in quarantine, and people were getting sick. And that's when I noticed that like, okay, weddings were like actually being like canceled, or like people were just deciding to elope or postpone. And so what I did was I was like, had a conversation with my husband. I was like, okay, well, what do you think we should do? Like, is it even going to be safe? Would people come? And in order to just avoid people, you know, one, breaking quarantine and coming out and having a mass gathering for a wedding. We were just like, look, let's just push it off. We'll postpone it and kind of see kind of how everything goes as, you know, the months go on. And so we ended up pushing it out to February 20th of 2021. And so what we did before that, we made sure that we emailed everybody and, you know, we let everybody know that, you know, obviously, like, we want to have all of our friends and family there, but at the same time, we want to make sure that we're following guidelines and being as safe as possible. And so like that adds a whole extra layer of when you talk about the planning process and trying to keep everyone on the same page when it comes to COVID, because everybody has their own little thing now about it.
Right.
And so that kind of makes it difficult too. But my big thing was communicating with our guests and our friends and family and keeping them like up to date. Like whenever we found out something, like I made sure that I sent out like a mass email so that like our guests were up to date. Or if like you're not on email and you're on Facebook, because, you know, a lot of families on Facebook, child.
Right.
Get them with the Facebook messages, you know, to make sure that they know what's going on. And that was like the biggest thing, was just communicating throughout the entire process, is that letting everybody know, like, we're just as much rolling with the punches as everybody else. And once we get like a concrete, you know, idea of what's going to happen moving forward, then we can start sending out like actual invites, you know, starting to ramp things back up again and everything like that. But yeah, I would say probably like definitely around May, we were like, okay, like we need to have like a serious conversation about what we're going to do with the wedding.
Mm-hmm. And I would imagine too, that's probably what around the time you would have been sending out the invitation. So it's kind of like, if folks have to travel in, you know, they need to know, do I need to cancel this flight now? Or, you know, like.
And you know what's crazy is that the production, so we had like, you know, the production company making the invites, they actually got shut down in the middle of producing our invites. So literally we couldn't even do it if we tried. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah, like we had my planner had reached out to the company that was making our invites, and they literally shut down in the middle of making like our invites. So like half or like a quarter of our invites had gotten made. And then the rest, like, they weren't able to do anything with it anyway until about, like, I want to say maybe late summer, like early fall. So, yeah.
The date doesn't change. So you got to start all the way over.
Exactly. So I was just like, you know what? Let's just push it out to, you know, 2021, buy ourselves some time. And, you know, we won't do it during the season because obviously, like, that's a whole nother beast to deal with. And people were trying to figure out how to get back to quote unquote real life and get back to work. So I was like, let's just push it off. And hopefully by February of 2021, like, we know what's going on. But yeah, we just tried to make sure we communicated as much as possible with our guests.
That's good. And I can imagine they're probably all like grateful that you postponed, because it's like you're looking out for, it's not just about the two of you, like you're looking out for everybody there, like older relatives, you know, like just people in general, like, you know, it could be someone that's like young, but they could have something. And, you know, I get that. I get that. How was your bridal party when it came to like making that decision? Were they like really supportive, or how was that?
Oh yeah, they were honestly like, our bridal party was like, they were super supportive, but our friends are super laid back. So like we've had like zero issues in terms of like, you know, people being upset about postponing and everything. But the one thing I would say that was probably like a huge benefit, because I think people don't realize how much the bridal party like actually spends also on the wedding. Yeah, like it definitely costs money to be in a wedding. And I think that was kind of like a big benefit, because like we got our dresses for my bridesmaids, I want to say back in 2019. And then like we hadn't had to buy anything until literally like 2021, like late 2020, like early 2021. Like, and it was like shoes and accessories, you know, small things like that. And so that kind of gave people some breathing room, instead of like, usually when you're doing a wedding, it's like, bam, bam, bam. You got to buy this. You got to buy the dress. You got to get your hair done. You got to buy the bundles. You got to like
then you got the trip.
Yeah. So I think that was probably like one of the big positives too, financially, is that it gave a lot of our friends that were in the wedding and family, it gave them time to like breathe and kind of like space things out a little bit. So that way, you know, you're not spending like so much money at one time, you know, and you want to be there for your friend or whatever, you know, whoever's getting married. So, you know, you don't want to feel like you're being a burden. I think that kind of helped also.
That's good. were you able, and I kind of know this because I saw on your Instagram, but like, were you able to have a bachelorette and a bridal shower?
Yes. So we did a bachelorette. We didn't do a bridal shower, but my bridesmaids, they did like a surprise bachelorette trip. So they wouldn't tell me exactly where I was going to go, but they were just like, okay, well, we bought the ticket. Like, make sure you pack this for this day, this for that day. So they tried to make it like, a big surprise element. But with COVID, it kind of like, once you get close to the date, it's like, okay, well, there's some travel restrictions. So we need to figure this out. So we ended up going to Jamaica. And, of course, like, you have people who are a little bit weary about traveling. But my group of friends, we travel a lot. And so, a lot of people were very open to it. And I think the good thing, though, was that with a lot of these countries like reopening, especially in the Caribbean, like they do require you, one, to get testing. And then also you have to get approved before you even get into the country. And so, yeah. And then that kind of added a little bit of an extra layer of just, just feeling a little bit safer. And then also people who travel outside of the US, you have to end up quarantining anyway when you get to the country. So yeah, it's, it looks a little bit different now, obviously, because of COVID and, the hoops that you kind of have to jump through. You can't travel as wide and far and, loose as you wanted to before COVID. But, what makes me feel a little bit more comfortable is that, making sure that people get tested, making sure that you're going through and getting approved or, you're following guidelines and things of that nature. But we had a great time in Jamaica. I mean, amazing time. Like it was so good. Like, even though with COVID and everything going on, like it still was a really great experience just being around my bridesmaids and, having them like support me. And also one of my bridesmaids also got married like a month before me. So we combined our bachelorettes because it was just like, it didn't make sense to go to two different places. So we were like, let's just share it. Why not? We're in each other's weddings. So it was like a dual, like bachelorette, like, powerhouse combined type of deal. It was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh, that's so good because, there's so many brides that like did not get to really have that full kind of experience. And the fact that your friends were like, we're still going to do this. We're going to surprise you. Like, we're going to make this happen. And there would have been some folks that would have been like, ooh, I got to get tested first. I don't know about that. Like, they would have complained about it or, like, I got to do. No, like you. Yeah,
they were honestly. I'm telling you, I've heard some horror stories about bridesmaids. I'm not gonna lie. Like I have heard some horror stories, and like my girls, like we've also been friends, 15 plus years in my circle of friends. So like everybody is like very open, very honest with each other, and we all really know each other so well that it's just like it's we go off vibes. Like everybody is just
same page.
We're all on the same page. We're all on the same page. So I think that was the best thing for me is that, like I really had women who were there to support me and really make sure that, not only me, but also one of my other bridesmaids, Sade, who got married, like to make sure that we had the best experience possible, despite all the stress and everything that was going on with the pandemic and trying to plan a wedding at the same time.
Right. Good. Okay. So now that you've been married, about 2 months almost?
2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Hold up. What month are we in? I'm sorry.
Hold up. What month are we in?
Wait a second.
You and me both.
Got out of February. I'm thinking we're already in April. Okay. So you haven't even been married a month. But describe like your wedding day, maybe like 5 words or less.
Ooh, okay. 5 words to describe my wedding day. Oh my gosh. Emotional, lit.
Good.
I would say, oh my gosh, exhilarating, heartwarming. And the last word, I'm trying to think to like how my heart felt. Like I just felt so like, what's the floating? Like I literally felt like I was floating on my wedding day. Like I'm trying to figure out the words to describe the emotion, but I literally felt like I was floating. Like everything was just, oh my God, y'all.
It was worth the wait.
It was worth it. It was so worth it.
Oh, that's so good. That's how you should feel though. Like you shouldn't feel like your wedding day is like a a silver lining or like a, kind of, all right, well, this is what we have. Like you should feel all of those things and then some, COVID or not, right? Like,
right.
Oh, okay. So what were like your, say, top 3 moments from that day?
Ooh, top 3 moments. Okay, first, of course, like when we were doing like the June bug stuff, like that definitely, shout out to my makeup artist, Tia, and our video team, Bricks Group. Like they're so lit. Like they are just so lit. Like we had the drinks flowing, everybody's June bugging. It was a good time. I would also say the ceremony is definitely a highlight. Me and my husband, Dion, and like it literally felt like it was just like when we were doing our vows, like it was just us there. And it was like, I don't know if anybody has ever felt this before, but I mean, as an athlete, I felt this like, running track. It's almost like you don't even hear anybody else. Like you just like, I'm focusing in on my husband and I'm hearing the words that he's saying. And I'm like, oh my God, like I'm going to cry. I'm going to mess up my makeup and Tia is going to kill me, child. Like, that's literally what's going through my mind. I definitely did tear up. I shed some tears, but the makeup survived. And then I would say like our entrance. Oh my God. I can't wait till the video drops. Our entrance for the reception. Oh my God. Like you would have thought it was a club. Like, I mean, it was a little crazy.
That's how it should be.
We were standing outside of the door. We hear the DJ. Shout out to our DJ, Bo Weezy. And he's on the mic and he's like, yeah, I'm going to introduce to you Mr. and Mrs. Bush. And you could hear like inside, everybody in the reception is like, ah. I'm like, is this a concert? Is this a club?
Right.
Like, I'm like, what?
Hyping y'all up.
Like, and then, like the Dior, like Pop Smoke drops. And I'm like, wow. I was like, this is lit. Like, my husband comes out with the Ace of Spades. I was like, wow, we're living our best life right now.
Yes. Oh my God.
I would say top 3 moments right there. The reception was, oh my God, is amazing. I can't.
Oh
I'm telling y'all, I wish I could describe it in words. I really wish I could, but like literally it was, oh my gosh, it was such a vibe. Such a vibe.
Ooh, I love that. I mean, because honestly, like we're here for the ceremony. We're here for what it represents. But everybody just wants a good lit reception. Okay. Like that's what this whole thing is for. Like you don't have folks that are like, oh yeah, I can't wait to see the ceremony. Like no one is thinking about that. When you get engaged, you're thinking about the reception. Like everything is in the reception. Like your dress, the food, the music. It's the music. Like,
oh yes.
Because that's the main thing people remember when they like leave.
Oh yeah.
It's all the elements from the reception that they're still going to be talking
they
about.
Will remember the food and the drinks and the dancing. Yeah. Like if the DJ is good, like literally those 3 things.
That's it.
If you got a good DJ, good food and good drinks, oh, you're set. Like your guests are going to be happy. Like they're going home and they're telling everybody. Exactly.
Okay. One more question before I get to the last question. How many guests did you have?
We had about, I want to say close to 140, maybe 130 something, 140.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. Here's the story. So initially pre-COVID, it was about 225. Lord have mercy. Real. My husband knows a lot of people. And so I was like, oh, this is really going to be a crazy wedding. I'm like, plates aren't cheap. So 225, that's a lot of people. And so then post-COVID, in COVID, we had to cut the guest list down because of like CDC requirements and of course like the hotel and everything like that. And of course like that was a whole other task is, telling people, hey, like, I'm sorry, but you can't come, COVID. That was like the worst thing ever. Oh my God, the worst part. But, we get it down. And then also because we did require people to get tested to come to the wedding, that also got people, off of the guest list. So unfortunately, people either had contact or tested positive. Like, we made sure like, hey, make sure you send us your results. So that way, like we're aware of what's going on. And then when things started popping up, people had to come off of the guest list. And so I'm happy that we did do that.
Yeah.
Just because like it adds again that extra layer of, you know, people feeling a little bit more safe, that extra layer of protection. And there was also testing on site at the hotel too.
Nice.
So yeah, like, I mean, again, like we're still living in the middle of a pandemic. So these are all things that, you know,
right.
have to consider when we're doing it. But that definitely got the number down. I would say probably about either between 130, 140 or so. Like it was, because we did see some name cards, and I was like, oh, like this person's not here. It's like, you know, you can see on the little table, you're like, oh wow, okay. Well, how many people did we have here? But it worked out well, though. It worked out really well because I felt like it did make me a little like anxious beforehand, like because of, you know, guest count and everything like that. Like my main goal was to keep it like tight and as safe as possible. Like, cause that's something that kept me up at night. Like I was just like, oh my God, this guest list is going to drive me crazy.
Right. And you don't want to have a wedding where like you go back and look at pictures and everybody's in a mask.
Right. Yeah. Like, I was like, please not. And I was like, you know, it's okay if you're sitting down, you know, if you're like, you know, at the ceremony, what have you, and you do it to your comfort level. But I also want to make sure, you know, again, everybody got tested. But like, if you're in the bridal party and y'all standing up for pictures, oh no.
Right. Right.
I was like, yeah, I'm like, I done paid too much money for y'all to get your face beat to be putting that mask on.
Right. For this mask to take it off. Like,
I did get like a face shield also that my aunt ended up bedazzling out. Like I got like one of those clear face shields off of like Etsy, and then my aunt like came with like her glue gun and her jewels and all kinds of stuff. She is like arts and crafts mommy. And my wedding planner is just like, where did you get that mask? I'm like, my aunt, you know, she said I couldn't walk out looking basic. So, you know, this is what she came out with. So.
Oh my gosh. Oh my God.
Oh man.
I love that. All right. So final question, because there are so many brides still in this limbo, postpone, or whether they just push their wedding out, like what advice would you give to another bride that did postpone, but she is planning to have her wedding sometime in 2021?
I would say my best advice would be to, one, make sure that you're delegating responsibilities to people around you. And I think that a lot of the times, like brides, you know, we feel like we have to do everything ourselves. I mean, at least that's me. I'm a very hands-on person. And so, you know, planning a wedding in the middle of a pandemic is stressful enough. Like you're going to stress yourself out. Like just make sure that, you know, you're communicating with either a planner or whoever it is you're maid of honor, or, you know, people who are working with you, like, hey, you know, this is what I want done. Like, how can you help me, you know, do this? So that way it's not all on your shoulders. And then once you get to the wedding day, I think my biggest thing is like making sure that you're in the moment, that you're like savoring everything. And like, that was the best advice that I got. One, to eat. And then also, and to also like savor every single moment. Like I made sure that, you know, on my wedding day that I wasn't thinking about, you know, oh, does this go here? And where is this? And where I'm like, I told people, I was like, y'all don't bother me about none of that stuff. Like I'm clocked out.
Right.
I was like, I'm clocked out of planning. I'm clocked into being a bad bride. Okay. Like don't ask me about nothing else. If you're not handing me a glass of champagne, I really don't even want to hear it. So, but I think like, you know, that's an intentional thing. Like you have to literally be intentional about being present. And I think that that was the best advice that I got, is to, you know, even though, you know, you're planning in the middle of a pandemic and you're doing something that is a little bit difficult with all the challenges, still enjoy the process. Like this is a once in a lifetime thing. You know, you don't want to look back and be like, oh my gosh, like I didn't get to enjoy the day. Like you put all that money and effort into it, savor it.
That even spoke to me, because we got married last year, but we still haven't had our like ceremony reception, like big. And then I lost my venue like 2 weeks ago. So now I'm like, oh my God, I have to start all over. Yes.
Girl.
It'll work out.
I'm so sorry to hear that. Trust me, I know. I'm sorry. It'll work out though. Y'all gonna get it together. Y'all gonna
Thank
get it
you.
together.
Thank you. It's just going to be even more better than what it was supposed to be. So that's how I'm trying to take it.
Look, I'm telling you, you're gonna find something better. You're gonna look back and be like, well, you know what? This is where I'm supposed to be, honey. Okay. Like, make it what you want, okay?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Well, Amina, thank you so much for coming on. Usually at this point, we go into unsolicited advice. I provide advice nobody asked for. My unsolicited advice for this week is to love on yourselves.
I mean, but essentially you should love yourself. And so that is great advice, Ashleigh.
I hope you keep that in too. All right. So what we're going to do now is do the wedding vendor shout out. So what vendors would you like to shout out?
Okay, so I'm going to shout out my bridal stylist, Selena Howard. So her business is called Vainglorious Brides. She did all my looks from like, you know, pre-wedding, ceremony, reception, shoes, earrings, accessories, literally every single step of the way. My bridesmaids as well. She got them together, accessories. I mean, I couldn't have done it without her, honestly. Like, she is absolutely amazing. I would also say my makeup artist, Tia, bomb. Like, she will beat your face to the gods, to the heavens and back. Okay. She does not play. I mean, sis is booked all over the world and she is amazing. I love her to pieces. And then also my photographer, Stanley, Stanlow Photography on Instagram. I mean, I'm sure that everybody has seen his photos. Like, when I tell you, when he drops photos, like, he really shuts down the internet. Like,
right. Seriously.
He shuts down the internet. Like, I got our photos back and I was just like, yo, like, I could not imagine it being any more beautiful than the way he captured it on our wedding day. So for those three, like, I mean, top-notch service, top-notch vendors right there, and Black-owned. So there you go.
And I mean, if not, like, at that moment when you're getting married, that is the best time, in my opinion, to put money back into the community.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're spending a lot of money. So it's like, you might as well.
And see, you know what? That was like a big thing for me, is that, you know, I wanted to make sure that, you know, I knew a lot of people in those creative spaces. And so, you know, I had people who were suggested to me and I was like, look, I would rather put my money towards people that I know in my community, in the Black community, that are doing dope work. Like, they are super dope people. And I want to make sure that, you know, I put my money there. And then when the photos drop or whatever drops and people, you know, do their videos on social media, that they know, like, hey, this vendor is popping, this vendor is popping, like, you could book this person and you could book this person, as opposed to us seeing, like, you know, the same people kind of recycled over and over again. And it's also different for a Black wedding. I personally feel like it's very different. Like, the things that you want to, you know, have at your wedding, the way you want to look at your wedding, the style that you have for your wedding, it's very different. And I think I noticed that just, you know, with the vendors that were passed my way. And then I was like, oh, nah, like, I need to, like, do some research and get my own people. So that's definitely something that I did intentionally going into the wedding planning process.
Nice. Yeah. Our style is, like, different, you know, like, not to say that there aren't some similarities, but it's like, how we do weddings is how we do weddings. And, like, you really,
it's a little bit more drip. It's just a little bit more drip.
That's
a little bit more
That's
swag. That's it. You know, just a little razzle dazzle. That's it.
Exactly. And you need vendors that are going to meet you there too. Like, you don't want to go back and be like looking at the pictures and thinking, well, damn, like, they didn't do this, or like, they didn't capture this, or I look dusty. You know, like,
right. Tell me if my edges are coming up. You know,
thank you.
Look, okay, if my wig is sliding, says, tuck it forward for me, okay?
Right.
Like, I need to make sure
then
it's
take
secure.
My picture. Exactly.
Tell me it's secure. Okay, tell me my highlight and my tone. Like, let me know what's going on. That's what I need to know.
Right. Because by the time you get the photos, it's too late.
Oh, yeah, no, it's way too late. It's way too late. Once you get the photos, it's over. It's a wrap. You can't change it.
Ooh, I have some stories about that, but we are not going to go there today. Well, I'm actually going to shout out a Black photographer based in Los Angeles. So if you are looking for a great wedding photographer that gives you mood and kind of drama, y'all know that's my style. Shout out to Gilded Photo on IG. She is just great, y'all. I mean, she is a really, really good photographer. Like I said, she's based in Los Angeles. Her name is Kanisha Gill. She is a Black woman. And I mean, she travels. But of course, like if you are in that area and you're looking for a photographer, please like reach out to her for real. So her Instagram again is Gilded Photo. And she's based in the Hawthorne, California area. So kind of Los Angeles area. So what about you, Toniah? Who are you shouting out?
Yeah, so this week I am actually going to shout out a wedding hairstylist. She is based out of Miami and her name is Lola. She is Lola J Hair on Instagram. She does TV, video, celebrities, fashion, editorial, and weddings. And so, when I looked at her portfolio, she actually owns the 7th Level Salon and Spa in Miami, or Coral Gables, I should say. Listen, you know, it's hard to find someone who can do a beautiful natural hair updo. And she has that thing on lock. Like she can definitely do some hair and she can definitely achieve that look that you have always wanted for your wedding. So definitely look her up. Her name is Lola J Hair, but you can also find her on IG at Lola J Hair, but also 7th Level Salon and Spa on IG and 7th Level Salon Spa.com if you want to book her at all, or if you want to just review her work. So go look her up.
Where can people find you if they want to follow you or see more?
You can follow me at Amina J TV, AminaJadeTV on Instagram and on Twitter. And also, if you want to check out my work, you can go to AminaJade.com.
Toniah, where can our wonderful listeners find us?
So you can find us on HueIDo.com. You can find us on Hue I Do Wed on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. You can find Ashleigh on IG at Demitosh, and you can find me at Belsarie on Instagram and Twitter. And I think that's it.
Listeners, before you click out of this episode because you realize we're at the end, please head to Apple Podcasts and give us a review. I don't care if you listen to our podcast on Spotify, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Amazon, Pandora, etc., etc. Please go to Apple Podcasts, create a name for yourself real quick if you don't have one, and give the good people, and by good people, I mean Toniah and I, give us a wonderful review. And honestly, we're appreciative of all reviews, whether it's a 1-star or 5-star. And, you know, there have been so many people that have told us how much it means for them to hear 2 relatable people talk about weddings and vendors that look and sound like them. Talk about the weddings that are like the weddings they have and the weddings they want to have, or the weddings they're working. And so for that, that's why we need your review, so that more brides and grooms and wedding vendors and brides-to-be and girlfriends and boyfriends, everybody can find the wedding podcast that speaks to them in the same way that we were looking for this exact thing almost 2 years ago. Well, thank you again so much for chatting with me and tell me all about your wonderful wedding. I can't wait for you to post the video when you finally get it, because I know it's going to be everything and more.
It's lit. It's lit. I promise y'all it's lit.
Oh my gosh. I love it so much. Well, you have a great night and thank you so much again.
Thank you.
Toniah, let's close this thing on out. Until next week.
See y'all next Wednesday.
Bye, y'all.